All right, well, we're back for another show. Today, I've got another baseball executive, which has been a recent team, and I've got Adam English from Gwinnett. How's it going, Adam?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to join me. I've been to the area a lot. I've been to the ballpark, not actually inside, but just in that region, and it's a really nice area. Number one, and the ballpark looks great. So,
Well, thanks.
Always interesting to hear people's journeys, and
Yeah.
we'd love to hear kind of your story, like where you're from, and all the way up to your current position.
Yeah. So I got my start back in 2005 as an intern for the Lexington Legends. Had played baseball in college at Transylvania University, a Division III school in Lexington. Had Tommy John surgery at the end of my junior year, and started thinking about life after baseball in college and everything else. And I was fortunate enough to get a sales and marketing internship with the Legends. And little did I know at that time that sales and marketing meant like a little bit of everything. So, I did everything from making cold calls, going on sponsorship meetings, to I was the mascot. My game day duty was running the parking lot. So I literally drive in the parking lot with, a major league style, golf cart with a big hat on it. Just got a little taste of everything, and it was a tremendous experience, some great friendship. I loved the culture, just the camaraderie of everybody working hard together for one goal, and just it really opened my eyes up to the business side of the sport, which I graduated with a business degree, so it was of tremendous interest to me. After my internship, I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity with the Augusta Green Jackets. So my sports stories kind of come full circle as I'm back in Georgia, 15 years later. But I was with the Augusta Green Jackets, really fortunate to learn from some of the best and brightest in the industry. It's when Ripken Baseball owned Augusta. And so Jeff Eisman, Amy Venuto, Missy Martin, a lot of people, I had some of the best training, I think, available in this industry to start off. I was really fortunate. Was with Ripken Baseball for 5 years. They bought the Charlotte Stone Crabs, who are up until this past year were the single A affiliate of the Tampa Bay Rays, and we ran the spring training operation. So that was tremendous experience, seeing the Major League spring training operation and being a part of running that, selling that, and getting to know some people at the Rays as well. And so I was with Ripken for 5 years, and then the Legends came calling back, and I had always stayed in contact. And I think that's one of the things that I've seen most in this industry is if you keep strong relationships with people that you work with and stay in contact with them even after you don't work with them anymore, great opportunities can come about. And so I was back in Lexington. I was their assistant general manager and was really happy, back in my hometown, close to family, all that kind of stuff. And out of the blue, one day I got a call from the Sacramento River Cats, and anybody in minor league baseball who pays attention to anything knows that the River Cats have a tremendous reputation. And so at the time I thought, well, this is a team I need to at least see what they're interested in, why they're calling me, because, their reputation was just second to none. And, so I call them, and I talked to their general manager, Chip Maxon, who's a good buddy of mine now still. And so lo and behold, I get their director of ticket sales position at the AAA level. I convinced my fiance at the time, who's now my wife, to move all the way across the country 6 months before our wedding.
Yes.
I've always used that as an example of yes, I can sell, because on moving across the country 6 months before our wedding. And so I was with Sacramento for 6 years, and worked my way up to be their vice president of sales and service. And just some of moving up to the AAA level. Classification, all different. There's a tremendous number of operations at every level of minor league baseball, but being at the AAA level, being the last stop before the major leagues, really started to appeal to me. And I was really happy in Sacramento. We transitioned from our A's affiliation to now what they are. It was just affiliated with the San Francisco Giants. We were able to grow revenues, about 40% while I was out there, and just learned from some of the best people in the industry. I learned so much from the ownership group, Jeff and Susan Savage, as well as Chip and many others that are there as well, on just the right way to operate a AAA team. I mean, their success is not by accident. And so I was in Sacramento, and I knew that the only reason I was going to leave Sacramento was for a general manager job. That's what I wanted. I wanted a general manager job, and I wanted it at the AAA level if possible. Gwinnett opened. It was kind of a unique situation. It was during the AAA championship game when it was in Columbus, I believe, and I called my GM. He was there with Jeff, our president, and I said, "Hey, what do you know about Gwinnett?" And that's one of the things that I think that appealed to me so much about being in Sacramento is, career goals and how you move up and where you move along to and all that stuff. That was an open, honest conversation always.
That's important, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, when I interviewed in Sacramento, and I was sitting across the table from Jeff Savage, who's one of the owners, and I think at the time his title was general manager before he became the president. But and he looked at me and he said, "Where do your bosses think you are?" And I said, "Here, interviewing with you." Because I just wouldn't feel right about flying across the country and interviewing for a job without telling my boss, and in that case, it was Andy Shea, that I was doing that. I mean, and so I think that, as kind of a message to young people in the industry, it's like, be open and honest with your bosses. Like, I know sometimes it's scary to say like, "Hey, I'm interested in interviewing for a position outside the organization." But at the end of the day, if you're working in an organization that doesn't want you to take on great opportunities, then that's probably not a great situation for you to begin with. And I think that there was a mutual respect there, and I've stayed close with Andy since then. And so and so then you fast forward, and I Chip Maxon, the general manager out there in Sacramento, he knew what my career goals were, and so I called him. I said, "Hey, what do you know about this?" He said, "Nothing. Why don't you do some research? I'll do some research, and we'll reconvene when I get back and we'll talk about it." So we did, but we both did that, and decided that, hey, at the very worst, the worst case scenario here is I get to gain the experience of what it is to interview for a GM position, so flew over, interviewed with a bunch of executives at the Braves and a couple of different times, and was fortunate enough to get the opportunity here. So I've been here in Gwinnett a little over 2 years now. The 2019 season was fantastic. Really, a little bit like drinking from a fire hose. Really proud of what we built here and what we are building. And before the the shutdown of the 2020 season, I think that we've got a lot of building blocks that can really build some success here in Gwinnett.
Yeah, well, I think you hit on a good point, and it's good to hear you say it, because I've come across some leaders or people in management positions that are like the opposite. Like, they don't want their staff to prosper and leave. And I was just recently up with the Fredericksburg Nationals.
Yeah,
they're launching their stadium as their VP of sales, and it's the first question I asked every employee that was in my department: "What are your career goals?"
Right.
And how can I help you get there? And I think it's important. And one area that I take a lot of pride in and that I get satisfaction out of is helping people develop and move on. If I can't, I don't want to. I'd love to keep you, but I'm not going to hold you ransom and not let you develop. But I've come across some that are the opposite, and it's frustrating to see. But this business is kind of a small, group, and those relationships are key. And so,
I've really been fortunate to have a lot of bosses that, kind of preach that same thing. And really, to me, it comes back to that servant leadership model of, look, the best culture is one where you're helping people achieve their goals, both internally, and then once they get to a point where you can't help them, grow anymore within your, of course my job would be a lot easier, right? Like, if I keep people who are really good, we deserve jobs other places, but I get to keep them, like, my job's definitely easier. But ultimately, I think the thing that's given me the most satisfaction in this industry is helping people take their next steps and seeing them achieve that success. And I mean, there's no doubt, Chip Maxon's job would be a lot easier if he was like, no, you need to stay in Sacramento. Like, we know each other. We've worked together for 6 years. Like, there's a lot of relationship there. And it's there is some, when you have some solid relationships with your staff, you know how each other work. I mean, you know how to build culture together. Those things become very easy. But at the same time, he knew, like, look, the right thing for me is to support you in achieving a career goal and going after it. And so, I've tried to take that same model across the board. And being here for really one season with the second season canceled. We brought some people in. We've developed a strong culture, and we're getting to the point. I would imagine after this next season where there are people who are going to be ready to take next steps, and I want to help them get those opportunities. I mean, if I can make a phone call for them, I will, even if it makes my job harder, because I know that creates an opportunity for somebody else to step up.
Yeah, and I think people see that and recognize it, and it attracts people to you as far as wanting to work for you, wanting to perform. So I think it's you've been at 15 plus years. I mean, I'm sure you see people throughout all the different leagues that have worked with you and kind of rising up the ranks. So
absolutely. And just some of my, I mean, again, I've had some great mentors and who've set the right example for me. And I love seeing people who I've worked with take next steps, get into management positions. And even if it's not in minor league baseball, I mean, there's a young lady who was in inside sales. We hired her in inside sales in Sacramento, promoted her to the group sales team, promoted her into management. And now she's in a management position with the Clippers, and she's killing it. And so, I mean, it's great to hear those stories, and I love following those careers and just cheering them on into bigger and better things. I kind of equate it to, and I've done this to many times. People who know me will roll their eyes because I say this too much, but it's almost like a coaching tree in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
You look at Belichick, and you look at Saban at the collegiate level, and you look at Andy Reid and all these guys that at one time they were all like wide receiver coaches on a staff for Bill Parcells or something like that. And so being able to look at kind of your minor league baseball, your sports industry, coaching tree, I think speaks to you as a leader.
At what point did you kind of decide that you wanted to work in sports? I mean, was there something you knew? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I mean, I've always had this passion for sports. Growing up, I played soccer and baseball and basketball and football, and everything that you could play, I was playing it. And in high school, I played soccer and baseball. And then once I got into college, I played baseball. And I love team sports. I love the camaraderie. I love the culture. I love the way that it helps you. It humbles you. It challenges you. And so, I knew that I love being around the sport. And so being around the business side and seeing the similarities between playing the sport and being around a culture where you're all working toward goals and you're pushing each other and holding each other accountable always spoke to me. And I think the biggest thing is I just didn't know what opportunities were available until I was in it. And so, I can't tell you how many colleges I've gone to since I've worked in this industry to share, like, hey, there are careers to be had in sports. There's, the things that, you can do more than just, scouting and the operation side of these sports. Like there's really good opportunities in it. And I've tried to share that with as many people, because if I would have known that in college, maybe I could have, even gotten in earlier or, help prepare myself better or whatever it is. So it's been a fun ride. And, when you get to go to a ballpark every day or a stadium every day, like I can think of a lot of places.
Yeah, no, it is. And just talking to a bunch of kids, in college and with the podcast, I started a thing called Free Agent Fridays.
I saw that.
One thing I've heard a lot of is kind of like you said, a lot of people don't realize all the opportunities that are there on the front office side. Everybody thinks of, on field or on court, but there's definitely those opportunities. And, I think for me, it was playing. When I got to a point where I couldn't play sports anymore, I'm like, okay, well, now what can I do? And
right. Yeah, same for me.
Good transition in. So over the years, you've worked for a bunch of different, teams. what are some of like the top like promo things that you guys have done? Because minor league baseball is kind of known for some crazy stuff. Have you been part of anything that's just off the wall? Or
I think the first one that jumps to my mind is, and we've definitely been a part of some of them, but the first one that jumps to my mind was like it was like topical and last minute, and this was back in, I want to say maybe 2007. And it was during the time when Brett Favre would like retire and then unretire and then retire and then unretire. And so, like on a random Thursday or something like that in Augusta, we went out and bought like 500 red and green flip-flops, and we had Brett Favre flip-flop night. And like, you know, I mean, I think it was more entertaining than something that actually drove people to the ballpark. But I mean, that to me, it just encompasses kind of the spirit of minor league baseball. Is like, can we all laugh at ourselves? Let's do something funny. Let's do something entertaining. We don't mean it in a mean way, but like, yeah, Brett Favre, make a decision, you know?
Yeah. And just, you know, kind of taking any kind of hot topic or anything that's out there and kind of turning it into different stuff. I was always fascinated with baseball. This past year was my first year in baseball, so I've always been in soccer and football and hockey, and you know, they do promos and that stuff, but not to the degree of baseball.
Sure.
And, you know, I know
in minor league baseball, it's so fan friendly. It's all about the fan experience, and yeah, I mean, you know, you've had everything from, you know, way back in the day, you know, Bill Veeck and Burnin' Disco. And I mean, it's just off the wall things that get you national attention. And honestly, I mean, I think you're starting to see more and more of the fan experience, the promotions, that kind of stuff at the major league level, because they're seeing it work at the minor league level as well. And it's unique for me now because I'm part of the Braves organization. The Braves are my ownership group. So we're major league owned. And so we have to be a little bit more careful because there's, you know, additional regulations and stuff like that. But one of the things that we saw huge success with in 2019 is, so in Atlanta, they have Beat the Freeze, right? So there's this guy who was on their grounds crew, he still is. And, you know, he's got the goggles, and I mean, he's like a world-class track athlete. And so they give the fan like a 10-second head start running foul pole to foul pole. And then the freeze, and they went viral because this kid was like celebrating, and then the freeze beat him, and he tried to speed up and he fell. But it's an incredibly entertaining promotion. So we have this guy on my staff. He was our, and these are great stories. These are very minor league baseball stories. Like he was a sponsorship trainee, and he's incredibly creative, really, really great. He's on our full-time staff now, and he came to us and he said, like, hey, like, I'd really like Beat the Freeze, but I want to like have our own thing here. He's like 6'2" and he weighs like 300 pounds. And he just looked at us and he said, like, I'm really fast. And we were like, okay.
Yeah, right.
So essentially what we did is, you know, we took him out the field and he blew us away with how fast he was and stuff like that. But so we give him the 10-second head start, right? And he just kind of lumbers out like real slow, like kind of holds his back a little bit and all that kind of stuff. And then the fan takes off and the fan passes. And when the fan gets, you know, 10 or 15 yards in front of him, he just kicks it into gear, and he chases him down. And he wins all the time. It's amazing. And so in 2019, we had more than 100 million views of his. We won the Golden Bobblehead Promotion of the Year. More than 100 million views on social media. I mean, we were like ESPN, Sports Center, or MLB, like it went everywhere. We usually do it like Fridays and Saturdays.
Was wearing like the skin tight?
Yeah. So he's got the silver spandex.
I'm looking that up.
Over at some goggles. Look it up. It's awesome.
Does he lose?
It's fake. Like it literally looks like somehow we sped him up and kept the other person. No, he's just fast. He's lightning. It's amazing.
Wow. So have you gone out there and raced them or what?
No. I'm like Jerry Seinfeld. I choose not to run.
We were making bets in Fredericksburg. You know, I was the old guy up there. I'm 42, and you know, I'm definitely not fit. I'm like, you know, 5'11", 235, but I'm fast.
Yeah.
And so the young kids up there thinking that, and we never got around before that happened. I couldn't let that get anyway. So.
Yeah, it's fun, but now the thing that's most hilarious too is like, I mean, like our players wanted to race him. You know, like it's a phenomenon. Like and it was, I mean, it was kind of storybook my first year here. The team won the division, made the playoffs, and when they were celebrating making the playoffs, big, champagne and stuff like that in the clubhouse as teams do. Like 4 of the players come over to me and they're just like, "Where's the fridge?" Like they love him. Like, I mean, like they wanted him down there to celebrate too. And even this past year during our alternate training site, like there were players that were wanting to race the fridge when he was out here and stuff like that too. It's a blast. So
wow.
It's a lot of fun.
But that's what makes minor league sports and minor league baseball so great.
Oh yeah.
You can have, I mean, it's a grind, it's a lot of work, hours, but like you have fun, Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and I preach it to our staff all the time, and I mean it every time I say it. We're like a family here. I mean, and there's times during the summer when we're around each other more than we're around our families. And so we've got to look out for each other. We've got to build each other up, and we've got to all be working toward the same goals so that we can succeed. We can grow. We can do all the things we want to do in the industry.
What is it about minor league baseball for you? I mean, have you thought about going to the major league level in your career? Have you thought about sports?
I mean, I don't take anything off the table. I mean, baseball is like my first love. I mean, baseball was always my favorite sport. And so being a part of the game, like, I mean, the fact that I'm a Major League Baseball employee because we're owned by the Braves right now, like my email address is at braves.com. Like that still is like, I don't know, like kind of cool. I'm like, there's no way that's real. But I mean, I won't take anything off the table. I mean, I think for the right opportunities, I mean, when I was younger, it was kind of like, I really like minor league baseball, like I just want to stay in minor league baseball. As you grow, I mean, I think that you look at it and you go, look, there's great opportunities at every level. I mean, yeah, there are times during a 70 game season when I go, man, 10 home games for NFL. That sounds pretty good. Right. Like, but, right. I know. But so, I mean, I wouldn't say that anything's off the table for me. I mean, I love being a part of the Braves organization, and, if I'm blessed enough to have an opportunity to work for the Braves someday, that'd be awesome. At the major league level, at the same time, like we have so much to do here. Like my focus, especially the last 2 years, has just really been on growing this organization and trying to build the right culture, one of the best run teams. And I know the right way to do that. And we're building it with it slowly. I mean, we were tracking, really, really strong prior to the shutdown. I think we were going to be able to tell a story where we grew, 15 to 20% over a 2-year period. And when we shut down. And so I think the fan base here is fantastic. I think that they're starting to take notice of the unique things we're doing and how much fun we're having out here at the ballpark. And so really want to have a lot of goals to achieve here before I'm worried about anything in the future for sure.
Yeah. So walk us through what's a day like for the GM? Like what kind of stuff you do? Because every organization GMs, they kind of have different roles. Some of them are just a pretty high level. Some are actually in the trenches selling as well.
Sure. I mean, I definitely jump on sponsorship meetings. I have a lot of relationships with our largest partners here, so I do talk with them on a regular basis. I mean, my day to day, I'm talking with my leadership team. I'm having one-on-one meetings with department heads. I'm trying to teach, coach, develop. Like I do get in the trenches. One of the things that I love every year is our ticket sales training. I mean, that's where I came from. It's in my blood at this point. I love doing our boot camp, where we typically do like a week offsite where never during a year do you have a week where you do nothing but just train. And it's a grind, but I mean, that's the number one thing in Sacramento that our GM and I would talk about is look, if we're fully staffed by the time we take our team to boot camp, we know that our revenues are going to be higher because they're going to be better prepared. They're going to have the tools to be successful. And the reality of it is, when you hire somebody in January or February, when you're learning on the fly, it's just not the same amount of attention that you can give to people. And so, I'm meeting with my manager of ticket sales, person in charge of my sponsorship team. My assistant general manager is Erin O'Donnell, who I worked with in Sacramento, and she was in Birmingham prior to me coming here, and I brought her over here with me. She oversees all of our marketing staff, our merchandise and stuff like that. So we work so closely together. And so really, it's all people focused. Every day is people focused on, outside of 2020. But it's one-on-one meetings, it's coach and develop, it's putting out a flyer here or there, and then it's developing relationships with our partners and our season ticket members. So I love being at games and talking to our season ticket members. I think listening to your fan base is the number one way to continue to improve. Little things that happen that, turn into we've always done it that way, right? Like blowing some of those things up. Like literally one was, hey, it's Georgia in the summer and it's 95 degrees and we don't allow people to bring in one unopened bottle of water. Let them bring it in. That's it. And then our game day staff at the gates are like, oh my God, this is amazing. We don't tell these people to either take their bottles of water back to their car or whatever. And so, listening to your game day staff, listening to your fan base, that's in season. That's where it becomes a lot of fun for me.
Yeah. I think you really got to be tapped into all that to be a great leader. So that's good to hear. When you do your training, do you do it yourself? Do you bring in an outside trainer?
So I've done both. I did our boot camp week is usually me and my manager of ticket sales, and we kind of tag team different areas to say, hey, I want you to take the lead on this. I'll take the lead on this. So we're all around. We're all kind of interjecting. And then look, that was a big deal for me when I was an account executive, right? I loved that Jeff Eisman and Amy Venuto would do our training because they were these executives for Ripken baseball that we talked to and we had relationships to, but to get the training from them was really cool. As opposed to just your manager who you talk to every day. It's no disrespect to that person, but it's, when there's somebody at an executive level that cares enough to get their hands dirty in that stuff, that always meant a lot to me. And so I want to make sure that I'm always involved in that. And then I've used, when I was in Sacramento, every year we bring in Charlie Chislagi, who is he does a ton of work. We were at the time, we were one of the only minor league baseball teams he went to. And it's because Chip Maxon had a relationship with him. Ton of work with the NFL, the Dolphins, the Padres. He did a lot of work in the English Premier League. But he got his start under Bernie Mullen for the Pirates. And so everything with him is face to face. And we loved his messaging of face to face developing relationships. That's how you sell. And so I used to bring him in all the time. I haven't brought him in here yet, but I do stay in contact with him. He's a great friend.
We had Amy come up to Fredericksburg, and so I kind of got there late, but she did a really good job. The staff they were the best group I've ever seen at an appointment.
Oh yeah,
they just struggled closing a little bit, so we got that fixed pretty quick, and
that's awesome.
Killed it up there. It was good to have Amy do that. That's how the team up there with Amy. So
Amy trained me. Literally my first job in Augusta, Amy was my trainer. And so I'm forever in her debt. She knows it.
How have you guys been coping with COVID? Are you guys back in the office now?
So right now we're not. I am. But right now, basically what I told my staff going into the holidays was, and I think that, look, my stance on this from jump has been my staff being safe and comfortable is number one, right? So going into the holidays, basically under the assumption that most everyone on the staff was traveling in some capacity, it was look, be back in Georgia, be back at your house. We're going to work remotely from the 4th until the 13th. Let's get those 10 days, monitor symptoms, anything like that. Because the one thing I really didn't want to happen was get back on the 4th, 3, 4, 5 days in, somebody comes down with a symptom. We got to shut the office down for 2 weeks. Everybody's got to go get tested, all that kind of stuff. So prior to that, we had most of our staff coming in about half days. And it was basically, if you leave your desk, you're wearing a mask. I was really proud of the work that we did during the pandemic, because we did a lot of community stuff, but the day-to-day work, we were the alternate training site for the Braves. So all of our full-time staff went from being account executives and, sponsorship salespeople, directors of operations, and yada, 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 to like grounds crew and clean team. And so like very minor league baseball as well. So, but like myself included, like we went from July 4th through October 10th, and we didn't have a single positive test in Gwinnett. And that's our cleaning protocols. We're fogging every day. We're doing all this stuff. And that's with the team working out 7 days a week, sometimes, without off days. I think that they probably had 10 off days over the course of that time. And some of those off days, we still had to come in and clean. So, helping out with our groundskeeper, that was the fun work, right? Like that brought me back to like repairing mounds and like that you do growing up. And then the clean team work was, we had to go in, we cleaned, we vacuumed, we fog both locker rooms. Everybody's got to be spread out. And I think the thing for us that really meant a lot was at the beginning of this whole thing. Our clubhouse manager, Nick Dixon, jumped on a Zoom call with our front office staff, and he said, "Hey, look, I just want you guys to know, Brian Snicker, and all the guys over at the Braves, they said their mentality was, we don't care how many games we're playing, we want to win the World Series." And what we were doing in Gwinnett was a part of that, because if we didn't keep players healthy, we didn't do our job correctly, and there were, COVID cases down here, they don't have the players to go up and help, and so I think that hearing that, both our baseball operations people and the manager were really like, hey, like, you guys are a part of this, a lot to the staff. And so we were all in on that stuff. It was a unique experience, and one that, let me just say, I hope I never have to do again, because that means we're not playing a minor league baseball season. But it was unique, and there were some real positives that came out of it. With the way, I think it speaks to your culture too, because, my staff stepped up. If they complained, they certainly didn't complain to me. And I think that they were grateful that we were all still employed, and that, they were part of something bigger than themselves. So by no means was anybody's first choice, but, we were when you're happy to be a part of the team and step up in any manner that you need to, that speaks to the quality of people you have. And I was really proud of that.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's when you kind of really find out what people are made of too. Like,
absolutely.
They really team player.
Absolutely.
It takes an army to pull all that stuff together. I know the same thing in the rule that the Nationals. That's where they had their squad practice. How's it look for 2021? Is there any timeline on a schedule, and does it?
There's a little movement on the schedule. We don't have it yet. Obviously, this is like kind of a perfect storm, right? Like, there's a pandemic. We're negotiating like an entirely new system for minor league baseball at the same time. So, there's so many moving pieces. There is some movement on the schedule. I am confident that we're going to have a season this year. Whether it starts in April, May, I'm not sure at this point, but I know we're going to play games. I know we're going to have fans in the stadium in 2021, which I'm excited about as we roll out vaccines and all that kind of stuff.
How are you on staffing right now? I just posted like last week something about like, hey, if you're looking to get into sports or you're out of work right now, and I was thinking I'd get a couple of people to respond and maybe try to help them. And in less than a week, it's got like almost 400,000 views.
Wow.
I've got 500 resumes, over 80 emails, just people reaching out. So, do you guys have anything open or that?
Right now, I will tell you, we do have one position posted. Our one position right now is mascot and community. We need a new mascot. We lost our mascot to the Braves, so that was a good loss.
Got caught up.
Yeah, he got called up last year. And so we were actually close with some people, and then the pandemic hit, and we kind of said, well, we can be the mascot as we need to throughout this. Like, hopefully if this lasts a month or 2 months, then, we can hire, we can get somebody then. So we really are looking for somebody now who can, make a great impact in our community as well as be the mascot. And that's a unique position. And then outside of that, I mean, I think that there will be some additional positions available. And really, I mean, it's tough because what we're really waiting for is that green light, right? Like, we're waiting for that green light on a schedule. We're waiting for that green light on when we're going to play games. And we were a really fortunate team. I mean, all credit goes to the executive team at the Braves and the other leaders in the organization. We really did some significant cost savings throughout the pandemic, and we were able to minimize the amount of staff that we lost. We only had to let 2 people go, and I'm sorry, 3 people go, and I hope to build those positions back up as soon as I can. It's just a matter of 2021 is going to be pretty financially impacted because of the rollover dollars from 2020.
Yep.
But at the same time, like, the Braves organization, top to bottom, like, we invest in people. That's what we want to do. I know that if I surround myself with the best possible people, that I'm going to look pretty good. and if I can give in my time and resources to helping them be the best that they can be, then I'm the best that I can be. So when the time comes, we're going to be hiring for sure.
All right. How about you've been in the Atlanta area for two years or so now? So what are some of the good spots to go eat when I come to town?
Well, man, one of my favorite spots is in Alpharetta. It's called South City Kitchen. Great spot. It's in Avalon. Anywhere in the Battery. I'll give a shout out to the Battery for the Braves. Anywhere in the Battery is awesome. I mean, there's a Garden and Gun. There's a great Italian spot. There's some fun, like, sports bars. There's a Yard House. There's a great little wine bar called Crew. I mean, just that to me. Not being from Atlanta, like, the first Braves game I went to, like, the atmosphere when the Battery is full and that energy, like, it's almost like a party before you even go into the game. And it's just everybody's cheering. They've got the drum line out there playing. They've got, it is electric at the Battery before you go to a Braves game. So I would definitely recommend, if you're coming over here, outside of coming to a Stripers game, make time to go to a Braves game. It's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, I've never been to the new stadium. My mom is a huge Braves fan, so I grew up in Pennsylvania, so Phillies were close to us.
Sure.
But she's a huge Braves fan, so we've been down for games before. And is that like area? Is that kind of like I lived in St. Louis, they had Ballpark Village. Is it kind of similar to that, or?
It's a little bit. Yeah. So essentially, like, the Battery surrounds the ballpark. Oh. And so, it's bars, restaurants, shopping. And the Braves are hosting the All-Star game in 2021. So, there's going to be they're building a huge tower. They have tons of hotels and stuff. You can stay right there. It's a great experience. And it is a little bit like Ballpark Village or Wrigleyville or something like that, but it's even more, there's everything there. I mean, there's the Roxy Theater, they have concerts there. So it really is, it's your one-stop shop for entertainment. And there's some construction going on around the stadium here that's going to replicate a little bit of a little baby Battery here. So I'm excited for that development. And I just know that, like, look, me as a sports fan, I know when I go somewhere, like, I love to get there early, have a little bite to eat or a little drink before I go into the stadium. And then, after the game, spill out and celebrate a win or commiserate about a loss. So it's a pretty good fan experience from that standpoint.
Nice. Yeah. I know there's some good food out that way.
Totally.
I would say there was like a steakhouse I went to is it called Buford?
Yeah, Buford.
Yeah, I don't even know where. It was like a little strip in like an old downtown building, but it was good. There's some good barbecue.
That's very close to where I live. I'm sure I've been there. But yeah, there's some great spots. Rico's World Kitchen is in Buford as well. That's a great little restaurant. And so, yeah, I just live right up the street from the stadium, about 7 miles, in a little town called Sugar Hill, which is right next to Buford. And, admittedly, I don't get out and about as much. I've got a 3.5-year-old. So, we
a lot of work. Right,
yeah, we're tied up. We're tied up with that little boy. So he's a handful.
Well, enjoy them, man, because they grow up fast. I got started young, so my oldest is 23.
Wow.
And my youngest is 17.
Wow.
So the nice thing is I almost have an empty house here. So
right.
My daughter lives in Tampa, so but you miss those times. So definitely enjoy that.
Oh, that's the number one thing that came out of the pandemic for me, honestly, was I spent a summer at home with a 3-year-old. And that, while some people might say like, "Ooh, that's," right. And there were times, but you're really thankful for a time when, like, look, when he goes to bed at 7:30 or 8 o'clock and I'm at the stadium and we got a FaceTime goodnight, 6 to 7 days in a row. Like, I was cherishing that time with family this year.
Yeah. No, the kids remember all those little things, and so it's kind of cool. I was talking to a kid the other day. He was telling me how much he used to love when I would take him to practice. When he was a kid, it would be like real late at night on a school night, so I wasn't the best parent probably, but just those little things. So it's kind of cool, and
it is cool.
So, to kind of see what you guys do up there. I definitely want to come check it out. And next
month, anytime, you'd be my guest.
And if you bring your little one down to Disney, hit me up. I live right around the corner. So
nice. Will do. Hey, I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a great conversation. Great catching up with you. And like I said, I mean, if anybody's listening, if they have interests in joining the Stripe